What's going on, everybody? My name is Luke. I'm the community manager here with Maximum Football, and I'm joined today by Maximum Football Game Director Micah. Micah, how's it going today?
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's going pretty good.
So we're doing these monthly mailbags now. We're a couple months away from our PC early access launch on November 7th. And so we want to have these kind of touch points with the community where they can ask the development team questions about features in the game, progress of the game, stuff that they can be looking forward to. And so, if you're not already in our Discord, make sure you're joining our Discord. Link will be down in the description. That's probably the best place to ask questions. You can also just reply to us on social whenever we put out the call for questions. But yeah, we've got about 12 questions from the community lined up here, and we're going to ask those of Micah. So, you ready to go, man?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Cool. So, question one is from Primordial Phantom over on Twitter. He says, would you have the option to control every team in Dynasty, or do you have to control just one? I know right now it's just one. Are there plans for multi team control moving forward?
Yeah, there are plans for that. It's one of the main things on our roadmap for Dynasty is to let users control every team. We just got working the ability to edit every single player that's in the league. That was another user request. Sorry if I'm jumping ahead, if that was another question you had asked.
No, you're
But
good.
a lot of the users were asking for the ability to edit every single player, whether they're on your team or not on your team in Dynasty. And so we just got that working. And after early access, we'll start working on letting you play with every single team, any game you want, any week of Dynasty, you can play with any team.
All right, this is a question kind of related to ratings and dynasty mode, but this is from Head Sanford over on Twitter. He says, "Can players play above or below their expected rating? So can they have like breakout performances or slump?"
No, they can't. The players play according to their attributes right now. So if you whatever attributes you see about each player is how they're going to play. But in Dynasty, we have some hidden attributes, not hidden, but attributes have a potential. So each player has potential in different categories of their attributes, and if they have high potential, then it's easier to rank them up to increase that exact attribute. So if they have high potential in speed, they can come into the league. They can join your team in Dynasty as like a 50 in speed, which for us is the lowest. 50 is the lowest. But if they have super high potential in speed, then they're going to rank up their speed super fast. So there's ways to get players to move faster and slower and stuff like that, or to increase their attributes quicker or slower. But there's no way to really break a player out of their attributes right now. Maybe in the future we can do that if we introduce some like traits or something like that, where you could have. I want to save traits for different tendencies for players. So like if you have a quarterback who breaks on routes a lot and tries to break, he's more of a he's more of a ball hawk and he tries to go up and get the ball. He'll break earlier. And you have other cornerbacks who are a little more conservative and they're not going to go run up and grab the ball as much. They'll stay on the receiver. Then we could use a trait for something like that, in which case players could play outside of their attributes if we introduce those traits. But as of now, no, players, they play as good as their attributes and they don't break out of it.
There is a discipline rating in the game, right? And how does that impact like the on-field performance?
So discipline has some effects in Dynasty where if you are like losing in the end of the game or some other effects, like if you have like breakout players that start better than other players in the game and then other players that get worse towards the end of the game. So one example is if your team is losing, but you have high discipline, then some of the players will play better. They'll play more consistently. And really all that happens is we bump up their attributes a little bit. If they have, like a high discipline, we'll bump up their attributes if they're losing in the fourth quarter. And then if they have low discipline, we'll bump down some of their attributes when they're losing in the fourth quarter. So it creates an effect where players will play better if they have higher discipline, or they'll play worse if they have worse discipline in different situations. But it's not like they're breaking out of their attributes. Their attributes are changing and they're still playing according to their attributes.
All right, next question is from the Notorious Z over on Twitter. He asks, "Is there a limit to how many of our own created teams we can make?"
Currently, there's no limit. I'm sure we'll have to introduce a limit here soon. You can't have players making, 10,000 teams. I think we put like we don't really have a real limit on it, but the one we're talking about internally is putting a limit of like 200 teams, potentially 300. I know there's some people out there when they hear 200, they're like, oh, that's not nearly enough. So that's what we have in mind right now is 200, but I'm sure we're going to have to up it. It just depends on what the users, all the players say when they jump in. If it's not enough teams, then we'll just up it. It's not a big deal.
Kind of a related question from the Notorious Z. He asks, is there a stadium creator in the game right now to make every team stadium unique?
There is not a stadium creator. We have a field designer, and it's kind of a very basic field designer. And we built this with the intention of it being a sort of the foundation of a very big stadium designer and stadium creator and a field creator. So right now, all you can really do for your stadium and your field is change the field colors, change the field stripe colors. You can change your seat colors, and then you can change the timing of the day, like day or night. But that's really all you can do now with your stadium. So you can't really build a stadium from scratch. It's not like you have individual Lego pieces and you can put them together and sort of build your own stadium. But the long-term goal, and we've set the foundation for that already, but the long-term goal is to, as soon as we get out of early access here, we're going to start working on an actual stadium editor, like a stadium creator, where you can change each section, the color of the seats in each section, where you can place your logos on the field wherever you want to place them, stretch them out, shrink them, set exactly what text you want to show up in the end zone, whether it be your team's name, your team's logo, or like your team's city, all kinds of different things that you can customize on the field and in the stadium. But right now, it's basically just the field colors and then overall the seat colors of the stadium.
All right, next question is from Lord Cryptic. I know right now we're kind of getting the time of day and the weather systems that are working in the game. And Lord Cryptic wants to know, does the game have dynamic weather? Is the plan to have dynamic weather and dynamic lighting that changes like from the first quarter through the fourth quarter, as the day gets later?
So we have weather, we have rain, and we have snow. Those won't be available. The snow is not going to be available at launch. We're going to release that one later. We still have some work to do on it. And the goal with the snow is to really make real plush, deep snow that you can run through, and it's not just a visual effect that actually has gameplay effects where it makes your players slip and does some other things. So we have a little more work to do on the snow before we release it. But to answer the exact question you asked, there's not any dynamic weather where the weather will start, it'll start, like a bright, shiny day. And then by the end of the game, maybe it's raining or maybe the sun passes over, the game lasts about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So the sun could move a little bit. We don't have that in the game. We've talked about it and it's on our roadmap. It's not a super high priority right now, but it is something we can do if people, if a lot of people request it, then it's something we can start working on. But as of right now, no, you can either set rain, snow, or regular day or night. And as of now, that's it.
Next question is from D's Dreams over on Twitter. This is one we get asked quite a bit. Are there plans for CFL rules to come as DLC later on in the roadmap?
Yes, there are. That's one of our main game modes plans we have. So we're starting out with Dynasty, and then we're going to work on franchise, and then we've started franchise development now. And then once that's done, and there's a few other things we have to do to go back and update some things in Dynasty, and then get multiplayer working for both Dynasty and franchise. But then as soon as that's all done, we're going right into Canadian mode. And a lot of stuff in Canadian mode is very similar to regular football, so there's not a whole lot of work we'll have to do. There is some field differences. There's a difference to the actual field, and there's a different number of players on the field. So that could get interesting. That could get complicated, but so far we don't think that's too big of a deal. But yeah, the goal is to get Canadian ball in there very shortly after we finish Dynasty and franchise.
Awesome. Star Wars Guy 1997 wants to know if there is a plan for a create a play system.
There is, and we actually, when we started this whole project, we had to create a play as one of the main things we wanted to launch with, and it sort of, over time, it slowly got deprioritized for gameplay because we wanted different gameplay features that were going to take more time. So we deprioritized the play creator, but we have it working in the back end, and it works for me to create plays, and it works for the other designers so we can create plays, right? So we actually do have a play creator working because we have to use it to create plays in the game. But it works in the back end right now, and it only works. It's not a very pretty tool as of right now. And so when you release something to the public, you want it to be pretty. You want to make sure it's not breaking and there's no bugs with it and all that stuff. So it'll take us a little time to get that working. Um, but then there's another problem after that, which is, do you let people just willy-nilly create any play they want where they can just, draw a figure eight for a receiver going up the field, or put, five receivers on one side of the field, or put offensive linemen off to the side or whatever. So there's questions of how open do we want a play creator to be? Is it going to be wide open where you're just drawing routes even for linemen, or is it just going to be like a route tree picker where you pick a wide receiver and then we say, all right, which route do you want to pick? Do you want to pick a post, a slant? And then you determine how, 5-yard slant or 6-yard slant, 10-yard, whatever. And you determine how far you want it to be. So there's some design questions we still need to answer about that one, but it is definitely one of the things that we want to get working as soon as we're past early access.
This is a related question. This is from Russell E. Caldwell over on Twitter. Once we get the create a play system working in the game, are there plans to be able to use those created plays in online play? And if so, what's the team's approach to competitive balance and making sure that works and is fun for your opponents as well?
Yeah, so his question, I think, kind of revolves around, when users create plays, they can create exploits because, they could create some wild play that the AI isn't really ready to handle. Like the defense just can't handle it. And so that's one of the big reasons why we have to decide whether users can just, draw any route they want, or if we give them a route tree. Because if we just give them route trees, then we know the defense can handle it, right? Because they already handle the route trees. They already handle any route that's on the route tree. So we've talked about, if we do allow users to use their custom plays in online mode, then what we might end up doing is creating like a hardcore online mode where it allows things like custom plays, and then have a more, a not hardcore mode, just like a regular ranked mode, where you can only use the default plays that we give you.
LaPromised Prince wants to know, is hurdle rating something that is in the game? And if so, how does that affect gameplay?
So the hurdle rating is in the game right now. And so we're introducing hurdles after early access. We're going to start working on hurdles. That was one of the ball carrier moves that we didn't get to implement before early access. It should be ready by the time we get to platform launches, but I can't guarantee that right now. We have a lot of different things we're trying to get working. But so hurdle we'll start working on after early access. And we have the attribute already in the game just to make sure we have it in there. It's not being used in gameplay right now, right? The hurdle attribute is not at all being used in gameplay, but it is being used in Dynasty. So in Dynasty, when you simulate a game, it has to, it uses your ball carrier moves in the simulation to figure out if you break tackles and for all kinds of other things. And also it uses all your attributes to figure out the player's overall ratings and some other things. So we use it in Dynasty in all the simulation calculations. But when you get to gameplay right now, the hurdle's not being used. It won't be used until we actually implement the hurdle ability.
Cannon the Savage on Instagram wants to know, are you able to play the game fully offline?
Yeah, again, we have offline exhibition, and you can just pick any of your custom teams and just play a match.
They also want to know, will you be able to upload images for your own trophies and awards?
So right now we have the ability to upload your own images for the conference, like your conference images. You can change the name and all that. And we do want to let users upload their own image for the trophies. Right now you can't. But that is kind of in our long-term customization plans.
All right, final question is from user. I think this was over on Discord. Will the game have gang tackling?
So when we go into early access, we won't have gang tackling. So, and there's a couple of reasons for that, because mostly physics. We're trying to get physics to work really well, and we're trying to do this step by step without, pushing too many things into the game and everything breaking and it just being a horrible mess. So when it came to physics, it's really hard to get, 5, 6, 7 bodies banging against each other with physics, all looking accurate and looking good. So our first priority is just to get 2 players hitting each other and the physics looking perfect. So there's ways that we could sort of fudge in the gang tackles and do some clever things to get it working and kind of get players to latch onto each other when they're diving in for tackles. But it was kind of a can of worms that we weren't ready to dive into before early access, because there's a ton of work involved with getting the gang tackles just to look correctly, because it can go wrong. It can go wrong in a million different ways. So we knew that going into it. So it was one of the things that we said, okay, this is just something that we can't tackle right now. We're going to have to wait until after early access or potentially after platform and give this some serious time to make sure that it's working correctly, that it looks correct, that we have the proper physics set up and the proper animation set up for it, so that, you can get 5-6 dudes just jumping in, hitting a guy, and he's going to react to all of it. So no, we're not going to have gang tackles, but it is one of the main things we're looking at. It's one of the main things we're going to be working on pretty much after early access into forever. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this month's Maximum Mailbag. Micah, thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure that you join our Discord, follow us over on social. We're going to be doing these monthly. So if you've got questions about the game, those are the places that you'll be able to ask them. And, we'll try to answer them on these episodes each month. So again, Micah, appreciate your time. And we'll see everybody on November 7th when the game releases to Steam Early Access.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. Talk to you later.